Hello, welcome to One African Mission with your brother Dobia Anzanse. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, One African Mission, and also follow us on Facebook, One African Mission. We are missionaries, and our mission is to fight for the unification of Africa. Our mission is to see a united Africa in our lifetimes, because we believe that without a united Africa, the children of Africa will continue to complain and to talk and to be disrespected all over the world. Nothing will change without a united Africa. That is what we believe. So please, if you want to bring a positive change for Africa, then please let us all together as young Africans join with this mission to see a united Africa. Let us take it as our mission as young Africans to educate ourselves, to tell our people the importance of unity. We keep saying it here, and then we will continue to repeat it until it sinks to every African's mind that if the United States, which is 50 states, were not united, if the forefathers of the founding fathers of America didn't see the need of strength in unity, and then fought a civil war to unite those 50 states, America will never have been powerful as it is today. Imagine all the 50 states in America, if they all had their own currency, their own passport, their own military, America will never have been strong as it is today. Today, an American citizen with American passport can travel all over the world with his passport and be respected, purposely because the forefathers of that nation saw the need for unity. And today, the country is respected because of the power they have through unity. So if we want to be respected as citizens of Africa, then we must unite the continent of Africa. One passport, one military, one currency, and we will be a force to be reckoned in this world. Africa will be forced to reckon if we have one passport, one military, one currency. Nobody cannot compete with us without our resources. Nobody will compete with Africa. So please, as youth of Africa, if we want to bring an end to the unemployment, to the disrespect, if we want to bring an end to our brothers and sisters dying in the Mediterranean Sea, if we want to bring an end of our brothers and sisters being disrespected in Europe, being disrespected in America, being disrespected in all these Arab countries, then we must fight for a united Africa. So please join the mission. Let us all move together to fight for a united Africa. That is the only solution to our problems. Thank you very much for coming around. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take time out of your busy schedules. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on Facebook. One Africa Mission, the number one Africa mission. The mission must be completed in our lifetimes. Thank you very much for coming around. So today, we're going to Cameroon to listen to this our brother, one of the vocals in modern African geopolitics. He talk very eloquently and intelligently. I always love to listen to him. His submissions are always on point. But in this time around, I'm kind of like a bit gonna disagree with him, because many things he said about China would be worse than Europe. The French didn't come to occupy Africa. The Europeans didn't come to stay in Africa. The Europeans did all those things that he said here. I want us to first go and listen to him and come back to analyze what he said.
Mr. Liu, China is no solution to Africa. China is one of the worst things that Africa will experience in the years ahead. I'm going to give you at least 4 facts. First and foremost, China has an overgrown population that they do not have where to accommodate that population. Africa has virgin land. Africa has arable land for agriculture as well as space to accommodate people. China is envisaging Africa as a place that they will be able to accommodate their overflowing population, since Chinese can easily live in Africa comfortably. And that is China's projection. That's why you see their own approach to Africa is not colonialism. Colonialism actually is coming to Africa to sign treaties, negotiate, and put leaders in question, set up systems, then go back to their country where they control from there. China is not doing colonialism. China is doing buying over. Buying over is an advanced dimension of colonialism, which the colonialist does not live in his place of origin to rule overseas. He comes to dwell where he wants to control. The Europeans did not come to stay in Africa. They came here, set up structures like La Francophonie, Commonwealth, AU, and other structures, put them in place, and then put puppet leaders, while from Europe and America, their treaties and their agreements are controlling Africa. China is not doing that. As a matter of fact, China trades as a nation. China does not trade as individuals. The man who is selling shoe at Dutch there in Douala is selling under the Chinese government. He's not selling as an individual. But the French man that is selling somewhere around Tico, Douala, is selling his business. Now, China does not go into the market, number one, to sell products. China go to win the market. Win the market means they will gain 5 francs for each product and attract everybody towards their direction. Something happened with Jack Ma recently. Jack Ma was sued in China and he paid a sum of $10 million because Jack Ma violated an international law that made him almost a sole trader in almost every app in China. He created more apps and put his product in all the apps. So if you leave TikTok and you are going to Changchun, you will still meet Jack Ma. You leave Changchun, you are going to Ziting, you will meet Jack Ma. So Chinese government caught that. But that's the same thing China is doing. China is putting itself in different apps that is the same product with different names. So China is in Africa not just to colonize. China is in Africa to buy over Africa. That's the first thing. Number two, Chinese in Africa, number two, are buying lands. Europeans did not buy lands. If you come to Cameroon, you will not see former French buildings. You will see former German buildings. And even the companies from France that are operating here, they operate on rented structures. So because the Frenchman is not interested to stay here, he's interested to extract and suck the community, then goes away. The Frenchman does not build infrastructure. The Frenchman comes to suck your resources and go away. China is not coming in that capacity. China is coming to create a space where you will discover that there can be a Chinese village in Africa. China has 20 police stations in South Africa. To do what? To protect Chinese business. China has 4 generals in the Zambian army to protect what? The Chinese business. The mayor of Lusaka was once sanctioned by Edgar Lungu, who was the former president of Zambia, because a Chinese guy, a Zambian guy, entered into a Chinese restaurant with a Chinese lady to eat, and then the Chinese man chased the Zambian guy out of the restaurant. When the mayor of Lusaka spoke against the Chinese man, the president sanctioned and asked the mayor to apologize to a Chinese man in Zambia. That tells you the infiltration of China in Africa is not just coming as a colonialist. China is coming as a settler. So we cannot trust China. We can't. The next thing that China does is that China is not dealing with raw materials as Europeans do. China goes to the extent of doing the meager job that the common man in Africa does. That is to say, depriving even him that fries puff-puff, he that cultivates tomato, he that cultivates pineapple, and even him that also does fishing around the shores of Cameroon. China is depriving them. The next thing that China is doing, that China is coming with genetically programmed seeds. I want to naked China here. I'm sure they are watching it. They are coming with genetically programmed seeds to put inside the kind of crops we grow here. Our plantains are no longer our plantains. Pineapple that come from Hawaii, the skin is bright. You open it, it is white inside. It's not white. It's genetically programmed seeds. When you eat those seeds, you start reacting, behaving, and acting like the way those seeds want you to be programmed, which is very dangerous. Now, China's approach to Africa also is to establish Chinese dominion by incurring debts. China is an advanced colonialist because why? China is coming with a debt strategy. Once you are indebted to somebody, you are a slave to that person. China sold the port of Djibouti and established a military base there. Chinese come to sign contract in Africa in Mandarin, not English. So most of the contract China signs in Africa, our authorities don't read them because most of them don't understand Mandarin. How do you explain that China want to construct a spur in Dar es Salaam and they will run the port for 99 years before handing it to the Tanzanian government? Now, this person who was the president, Jakaya Risha Kikwete, read those things and then signed it. Unfortunately, the thing was not completed before Magufuli came to power. Magufuli had to call somebody who understood Mandarin to read it. When he read it, he said only fools can sign such contracts. He annulled the contract. How can a Cameroonian who understands English and French fly to China to sign a contract in Mandarin? It tells you the kind of way we reason. Okay. I'm asking, in the 21st century, Mr. Liu, if our authorities who are learned can still be acting this way, there's something is wrong.
Yeah, but Apostle Ambe seems to be too hard on China. Mambo, don't you think that China may have also helped Africa better than what we experienced with the West?
Mr. Liu, the West, just like China, has never and will never help Africa.
Yeah, so if you can see, our brother is talking about China gonna be the West partners if Africa, if we allow them, because they have an overgrowing population. And Africa, we have everything. We have the land to accommodate people. We have the land to feed people. We have the resources to feed everybody. So because of that, China is deliberately sending their people to Africa to buy land and stuff like that. And then to him, he thinks that the Europeans didn't come to Africa to do same. So the Chinese will be worse than the Europeans, which I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Because my brother, I respect you, and I wish one day to meet you for that one. It is my dream to meet these people like you as a Pan-Africanist. But I beg to differ what you're saying, because if you're gonna tell me, even though I support what you said, I believe that the solution to our problems as African people will not depend on China, no Russia, no Europe, no America, no Afghanistan, no what's the name? No Philippines. The solution to the problems of Africa will be solved by we, the children of Africa. We must get it into our subconscious that we are the only solution to the problems of Africa. But aside that, what you are saying about the Europeans didn't intend to come and stay in Africa, they come to extract our resources to go build Europe. That one, I beg to differ, because the intention of the Europeans was to settle in Africa. If what you are saying, if what you are saying is true, my brother, sorry to say that, but how come they didn't even, you talk about the Chinese buying land. At least the Chinese are buying, which is very unfortunate, because we as African people are not learning. But the Chinese are buying. The Europeans, they didn't even want to buy. That is even the difference between the Chinese and the Europeans. The Europeans didn't come to buy. It will be an insult to our ancestors, to my forefathers in Zimbabwe, whose land was taken forcefully, not peacefully. They didn't negotiate anything, and they didn't even intend to buy it. They forcefully evicted our forefathers and took their lands. That was what the Europeans did. They forcefully took the lands of our forefathers. And today, my brother, you are telling me that the Europeans didn't come to take our land. They didn't come to stay. The Europeans came to stay. But the resistance of our forefathers was what kicked them out of Africa. If you are telling me the Europeans didn't come to stay, what are they doing in South Africa? It will be an insult, unfortunately, to our mothers, pregnant women who were kicked out of their lands, our fathers who were killed to run out of their lands so that the Europeans would take over. And today you are telling us that the Europeans didn't come to stay. No, my brother, I totally disagree with you. I totally disagree with you. The Europeans came. The Europeans' intention was to take over everything. What are they doing in America? If the Europeans didn't intend to take people's land, what are they doing in America? My brother, did you do research on this? If the Europeans didn't intend to take people's land, what are they doing in Australia? The Aboriginals, are they not Africans? They are darker than me and you. They are descendants of Africa. They have settled in that land for more than 5,000 years. And yet the Europeans just from Britain arrived there just in the 17th century, wiped them out and took over the land. They could not do the same thing to Africans. If they had the opportunity, they would have done the same thing that they did to the Americans, to the so-called Red Indians. They would have did the same thing they did to the children of Australia, the Aboriginals. They came to Africa to settle. They didn't even intend to buy, as you are saying the Chinese are buying. They came to take. But our forefathers, it was just recently that Comrade Mugabe took back our lands, and we are telling us that they didn't come to stay in Africa. Every colonizer, every invader intends to stay. My brother, we are having problems with Queen, the recent movie that is coming out about Egypt. They put a black queen there. The people of Egypt, the settlers, they are saying that we in West Africa and Central Africa and other Black Africa, if I may put it that way, that we are accusing them that they are not Africans. And for that matter, the civilization that was built in Egypt got nothing to do with Black Africans. The Arabs, they did it. I saw a video as they were so hard on Kevin Hart, talking about him saying that the ancient Egyptians were black. That is what an invader will do to you if you allow him. We made a mistake in North Africa. The Arabs took over, and today we are fighting with them as to who created the civilization. Today they don't even want to say we were the original people in Egypt, but we still have the black Egyptians there. We still have the black Africans in North Africa. So the same thing the Arabs did in North Africa, that was the intent of the Europeans in Africa. But they didn't have the level of resistance could not allow them. The level of resistance could not allow them. What they did in America, how they took over the land in America, they intended to do it in Africa. They are in South Africa. Who owns the land in Namibia? Them. In Zimbabwe, Comrade Mugabe kicked them out. So my brother, what you've said is true. The solution to Africa is not in the hands of China. Perfect. The solution to Africa is not in the hands of Europeans. True. But for you to tell me that the Chinese are buying lands, for that matter, the Europeans were better than the Chinese because the Europeans were not buying lands and blah, blah. The Europeans did not even want to buy land. At least the Chinese are buying. For them, they didn't intend to buy. They wanted to take it forcefully, and they did that. It will be an insult, as I said before, for you to tell me that the Europeans didn't intend to settle in Africa when they came to evict our mothers. Dr. Arikana said it. Her grandmother and grandfather, the grandmother who was pregnant, was given time to prepare herself and leave the land that was not belongs to them. And they could sit down in the back of horse, ride the horse till the horse is tired, and then say, "This is my land." This was what, my brother, did you do research about what you said? This was what the Europeans did in Africa. This was what they did. At this, we will not allow the Chinese to do that. Yes, there's no difference between the Chinese and the Europeans, the Russians, everybody. They are all doing it for their own interest. But we have to stop it. If you tell me that, I understand. But if you say to me, the Europeans didn't come to Africa to settle, the Europeans didn't come to take over, blah, blah, all the buildings, former Chinese, former German building, they all came to settle. They all came to take over. But we didn't, the resistance, the level of resistance from our forefathers didn't allow them to settle. So my brother, for this, I respect you, I love you, I want to meet you, but for this one, I totally disagree with you. I thank you very much for coming around. This is your brother Dobia Anzanse. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, One Africa Mission. Let us all together bring an end to this mediocrity of who is better than, which colonizer is better than which colonizer. This one is better than that one is worse than this. No, we cannot continue to do that. Whether this one is worse or this one is better, none of them is better for Africa. We have to take control of Africa and make Africa better, rather than sitting down and thinking that the Europeans are better than the Chinese are better than the Arabs. Nobody is better than nobody. They are all same. And then if we allow them, they will all shit on us. The Arabs came to Africa. They took over North Africa. They colonized our people. Today, you cannot tell them that they are not Africans. They are telling us, when did North Africa become Middle East or whatever is? Today, you cannot tell them. But some of them come as recently as the 12th century. Some of them came to Africa as recently as the 12th century. The Almoravids conquering Morocco and all that, they came just as recently. But today, you cannot tell them. They intended to, the Europeans intended to do the same thing the Arabs did in North Africa. So we cannot say that the Europeans didn't come to stay. They come to extract the wealth and blah, blah, blah. No. That is not accurate. I thank you very much.